Hi everyone, this year's Photoshop 2020 update features video is unlike other ones in the past. This one's a little bit special. Let me show you why. All right, so this year's different. This year I got invited to like a behind the scenes preview of Adobe Photoshop. And guess what? It's in New York. And so I'm gonna head over there now. I'm heading to the airport. What I wanna do is I wanna say that I'm going there because I want you guys to have like the inside scoop. And so I can use the tools to deliver a better video, but honestly, it's in New York. Don't worry, I'll be all business in New York. You know I'm business, because I got my business socks on. Then you get delayed 5 hours. And of course, I pass my time very productively, mostly productively. So the nice thing about going here was I got to spend a lot of time with the tools before this video came out. So that I'm not hopefully just showing you what the tool does, but actually how to use them properly. Plus I got to meet all the people who make Photoshop, which is super cool. It was at a super cool place called the Roxy Hotel and Cinema, and red glasses, red t-shirt. I am such a dork. All right, enough of that, let me show you the features. All right, it is Photoshop 2020, my favorite feature time. It is called Remove Background. Now, I've often joked like other Photoshop nerds, if there was a remove background button, I might be out of a job. There's a remove background button, and it's pretty good. And what we'll do in this video is we'll put it through its paces of sometimes it works okay, sometimes it works badly, and how to fix those. Okay, so let's jump in now and I'll show you the pros and cons for remove background. All right, I got a bunch of files to show you. I'm gonna open them all up. We'll speed through this. Thanks, editor. I got 8 versions because basically what normally happens is we demo the one that always works and then you go back home and try it and it either half works or doesn't work at all. So I've got some ones that do work, some don't work. Yeah, anyway. So first thing you need to do for this thing to actually work is background. Normally when you open up a JPEG like this, the background is called background and it's locked and that doesn't work. So you need to double click the word background and give it a name. I don't bother, layer 0, click OK. And that little lock has gone from your layers panel. Next thing you need to do is be able to see your properties panel. If you can't see it, go to window, there it is there, turn it on. Okay, a little tick should be on. And now, depending on how big your screen is, there's this quick actions. You can see mine are not appearing. I can scroll down a little bit. There they are. What I'm gonna do for this tutorial is close down the color panel just by double clicking it. Just kind of closes it up so I got a bit more room. All right, remove background, there you are. He's awesome. Ready, steady, give it a click. Magic. I love it. Super quick, super easy. It's a non-destructive layer, okay, or a layer mask. I can disable the layer mask. Holy smoke. It's not perfect for everything. This one's an easy one because it was a nice clear definition between the background and the foreground, but still, you can't argue that it's pretty cool. And it's the button we've all wanted, right? There's been ways of doing this without having to click the button, but the button is just what we want. Give rid of the background, please. Nice work, Photoshop. Let's look at O2. Now, if yours isn't looking like mine and yours is all over the place, you might want to go to Window, Workspace, Essentials, and go to Reset Essentials and kind of get back to something that resembles mine. Okay, but let's say this one here. This one's not going to work at all, or at least not very well. Remember, double click the name, hit enter on your keyboard, remove background, and the background's crazy hard and just gets this guy. And you might argue that that's perfect. Just that guy is kind of what we wanted. But yeah, so terrible example. But we probably weren't imagining a really good mask here, right? Because where does the background start and end? It's even hard for us to kind of guess. Let's look at O3. So the first one worked perfectly. Second one, kind of. This one here, do the same thing. Double click it, remove background. It says can't even find the background to remove it. There's just too much consistency. It thinks it's both backgrounds. So you will get that every now and again. Most of the time though, you will get something like this. So I'm gonna rename it, click the button, and you will get a partial background removal. Still pretty cool, huh? Check out the top here. Zoom in. Look at the edges, so good, really nice. But I couldn't really work out the transition between this and this. I don't even know what to call that. Lipstick pen? I don't know. So what you can do is you'll often get to this where there's lots of things that are great and there's a couple that aren't. So the thing is, if you click on the actual mask part, so not this first part, the masky part, you can see the white lines around the outside. Then in your properties panel, the select and mask. This is the magic here. This is where you can do your kind of final adjustments. Now for mine, I often change the view to on black. You don't have to, okay? And I drag this like little slider up to a really high contrast just so I can see really easily. And for this particular one, grab this first brush, okay, the quick selection tool in the top left, and kind of start painting. Make sure you're on the plus, okay? It doesn't really matter what brush size, just start painting kind of through it, and it starts going, oh, thinking. It didn't work. Grab the brush size to be higher, and then do it. It needs to be, there you go. I was using a teeny tiny brush for a later exercise. It doesn't work with a teeny tiny brush, Dan. Okay, so have something reasonably big. Okay, 32, it could be huge. Okay, but it's pretty good that way. This is how you can add chunks by just kind of clicking over it, and it kind of goes, oh, okay, if you mean this little bit, you probably mean the rest of it. It's pretty clever. Same for these small parts down here. So here, I'm gonna switch it to minus, okay, and just kind of paint in this stuff. One little bit, okay, maybe just click once. Okay, and it starts kind of learning after a while what you mean to not be in there and what you do want to be in there. It's pretty cleverish. Okay, it's pretty strange through here, but it's doing a pretty good job. We're not going to go through select and mask, but there's some pretty cool stuff you can do over here to kind of get these edges to be nice. All right, just one little bit. Smart radius, just crank that up a little bit. There's kind of two that I use. I said in my notes I wasn't going to go through this, but hey, here we are. So the radius up a little bit, and you'll see it just kind of works the edges a little bit nicely. Shift edge, you could tuck that in if there's some ghosting color coming around. So I do that one. I do shift edge in a little bit often, okay, just to kind of pull it in a little bit. And then I hit decontaminate colors. Click on that one, and that's how you make sure it's on. Click OK, and it often can fix up a lot of your masks. Pretty nice. We've got this big chunk down the bottom here. There's a bit of work to be done in these parts. This bit here depends on how much of this we want. It's kind of random anyway, so it's looking pretty good. There's bits in there I didn't get yet, but you get the idea. So you'll probably end up with something like this, where bits of it are good and bits of it are bad, and you can tidy it up afterwards because it's non-destructive. All right, let's have a look at this one. And this one's really hard because it's the same color background, a lot of, okay, the focus is really strong on the front here, really blurry at the back. What is it gonna do? Let's see. Pretty good though. Worked out there was a cat in there. There's some issues going on over here, but a good place to get started. Okay, product photography, where there is a clear background. This is where it's magic, right? Double click it, name it, click this one. If you photograph the back with a nice contrast, like that is amazing, just job done. Okay, there are ones where you've got like shadows, okay, where it's not gonna be as good. It's gonna do a pretty good job, but it's got the shadow in there. It depends on what you want, right? It might be perfect, you might want that shadow. But now you might have to go through and do some manual stuff with either select or mask or brush tool, channel mask. You can get into some nerdy stuff, but it gets us close, right? And last but not least, portraits. It's pretty good. Okay, watch this one. Remove background, pretty amazing. Like good starting anyway. If you are like, you're like, put the hair down. Same sort of trick that we did before for the lipstick, if that's a lipstick. So select on the mask, click on select a mask, and because it got us close, instead of using this first brush like we did before with a more kind of like, it was really physical and clear distance. Whereas say like the cat and this here, it's all bits and pieces. This kind of hair looking brush here is really helpful for it. So zoom in, okay, and pick an appropriate brush size. I have no idea yet. That works good for me. And click, hold, and drag where it kind of transitions. And watch, let go. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? Like it's starting to bring a really clear contrast between, look at them all. While you're dragging, it does a bit of like processing, so it's not great until you let go. Ready? Let go. You can see the edge there. Oh, nice. Back through here as well. Back through here. Okay, that second brush down can really help you get a nice contrast between the foreground and background. Now against black is always going to be pretty tough, but pretty nice. Let's look at on white. You can see probably watch this, more exciting effect. If I click across that, look at the hair coming back down through. Magic. Let's click OK. There we go. It's a lovely non-destructive mask with all the hair starting to come back through. All right, that is the remove background feature in Photoshop 2020, my favorite new feature. Let's go on to the next one. All right, I'm back. Just one little thing I forgot to mention is that if you can't see it and you're like, It's not there, Dan. I can't see it. Okay, you need to actually have your layer selected. It kind of goes a light gray color. There it is. Ask me how I know. One little tip before we go as well. File, close all is a handy one. Instead of going file, close, and don't save, you can also click apply to all. You always ignore that. It's awesome. You say, no, don't save them all. Just hum through them all. All right, now that's the actual ending of that video. Hi there, this new feature in Photoshop 2020 is the Object Selection tool. Watch this. It's going to drag around something and magically it's just going to select the whole thing without its buddies. Cool, huh? Let's do this guy. Boom. There you go. Let's jump in and show you how to use it. But spoiler alert, it's just this button here, the fourth one down. But I'll show you a little bit more how to use it in this tutorial. All right, the Object Selection tool. So this fourth one down, it's kind of covering up the old school quick selection tool. It's actually not that old school. That is old school. If you're using the Magic Wand tool still, you need to upgrade. Or you just need start using Object Selection tool. It's pretty cool. Okay, so I've got this one, and all you do is drag a kind of a big enough selection around something like that. And I can't believe it just kind of selects it. It's bananas good. Okay, and let's just add a layer mask. Look at that. Selected an object. Works better with some, like a nice hard edge is going to work way better than something that doesn't have a hard edge. But it's pretty good though, right? Like it's a pretty good starting point. There's some stuff in here I need to work on, but pretty good. I'm using it for that, but also say I want to get rid of this. So I want to get him and I want to go to select, modify. I'm going to expand my selection because I want to fill it in, right? So I'm going to expand it by 60 pixels just so it's a bit further around. Then I'm going to go to edit. Go to Content Aware Fill, and I'm going to click OK, and be amazed by it. It's cool, eh? So you can kind of tie it in, obviously, with other tools, clearly. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the harder ones. So this one here, it does a pretty good job, right? You can be pretty lazy, and it's like you can kind of select most of it, but not all of it, and it goes off and tries to grab a chunk of it. Not perfect, I know, but I've picked a really hard one to try and show you that it's not that bad. Get you pretty close anyway. Let's have a look at this one again and do a little mask. So not bad, huh? All right, let's look at this one here. So this one here, I show you because, actually, I want to show you in this one that it doesn't have to be a rectangle. Okay, it comes by default mode rectangle. You can switch it to lasso, so you can kind of be a bit more specific around it. If it's in a tighter group. Mine are quite spread out here, so it's not too bad, but you get what I mean. You can use lasso or rectangle. All right, this one here. I show you this one because sometimes you get some weird results. Watch this. If I drag this out, big box around this guy, it's dragged all of this. And you're like, that is terrible. Okay, it's because of the size of the box that I actually dragged out. So you got to be a little bit more intentional if you want it to be clever. So I'm dragging a big box around it. It goes for it tries to find all the bits around the outside. Whereas if I drag something that's just really kind of concise, it's pretty amazing. So if you are finding results that aren't as expected, just be a little bit more specific with either the rectangle or the lasso tool. If you want to do more than one, you can hold down Shift and I can get 2 little blueberries. 3 little blueberries. Add a layer mask. Cool, huh? Let's look at the last part of this new object selection. Is that what they're calling it? Yeah, object selection tool. Okay, let's say I want this. Watch this. I can just be pretty lazy in terms of internally. Okay, and watch this, it kind of jumps out to grab it. Be like, oh, what about this? Okay, you can, I've got this object subtract on. If I hold down my Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC, kind of changes it to a minus, okay, to negative things out. And then again, you can use the lasso tool, or you can just be, look at that, I'm pretty vague with it. Okay, and it just cuts that bit out. It's pretty nice, pretty sweet. All right, that is the object selection tool. But actually, before we go, I want to show you another new feature that's it's on my list. Why is it number 3? I don't know why. I really like it, but it's not really that sexy like object select or remove background. It's just this option, file. This is new. It says close others. And you're like, that's been there forever. It's like, nope, that just came out. I really like it. Just close everything but the one I have open. And I want to say apply to all, don't save. So I've only got the one open that I had open. If you've got heaps of them open, are you excited by it? I still am. Anyway, so we did number 2 and number 3, second and third favorite. Let's get on to the next feature. Hi everyone, it's time to look at Photoshop's new cloud documents. Now you might be like me and you're like, no way, seems complex. I need less complex things in my life. But I've been using it for a while now, and I'm going to try and convince you in this video that actually it's been implemented super well with Photoshop, and it seems to only have upside. Very little extra complexity, but I'll let you be the judge of that. So let's jump in and work out how to use it. All right, so what is Cloud Documents and why should you bother? Because it all sounds very scary and not new in Photoshop. And that's what I thought when I saw it. They give me the beta copy, they're like, use this, Dan. I'm like, no way, I'm not saving to the internet. But then I'm a teacher, so I'm like, oh, probably start using it. And then after using it, you're like, actually, it's pretty good. Damn you, Adobe, and your good ideas. So straight out of the bat, I've given this this kind of workflow. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is never gonna work. And this one, I'm giving like 2 thumbs up. I'm like, works pretty good. I can't see the drawbacks yet. And I've been using it for a little while. So what is it really? So if you've upgraded to Photoshop 2020, you've probably got, there's a couple of things, right? You go file open, it's gonna want to say, open in Cloud Documents. You're like, what? Well, no way. You can go to on your computer or toggle between open Cloud Documents. Okay, so I can open existing cloud documents that are in the cloud. And basically, they're just online, right? We know what the cloud is, like Dropbox or I can't even remember the other ones. OneDrive, poor OneDrive. There is a few other ones, okay? So Photoshop, or at least Adobe, have their own version. So you can open from here, but let's say I just want to open something from my computer and save it to document cloud. It's probably the most common workflow. All right, I'm gonna open this one. My favorite image on the internet. Thank you, Charles. So let's say I work on this and I want to save it. Okay, so I'm going to add an adjustment, any old adjustment. Let's show you one. I'm using curves. I'm going to show you a cool trick. It's not just because I want to try and impress you. It's not new, but click on that little hand there. And you can say, actually, I want to grab the whites, lift them up. Instead of trying to use the curves panel, which might baffle some people. Okay, even if you are good at curves, you can kind of like start working through, lift the grays up a little bit. Down. I'm just clicking, holding, and dragging. So we've got an adjustment layer. Let's hit save, and it's going to say this, and you're like, you've probably already gone through this, right? You've already gone, don't show again, save on my computer, because that's safe. But let's do it together. Even if you've turned this off, it doesn't matter. You can switch it, okay? So you can go from on your computer to that little button there goes back to Cloud Documents. Okay, so I'm going to save to Cloud Documents, okay? And I'm going to say, yep, that sounds good. I'm going to save there. And what's going to happen? Nothing. You're like, yeah. That was a bit of a letdown. Okay, that's the cool thing about it. There's nothing really special about it other than a couple of bonus things. One is, well, the obvious things is up there. Well, they're not obvious. They're obvious to Photoshop nerds like me. There's a little cloud there. And the file name's changed to PSD-C. So it's a cloud document. And your first question, like me, was, now what happens when I'm not connected to the internet? That's what everybody asks. And don't worry, there's a local version. Okay, and then there's an online version. Okay, so the online version is kind of like the cloud version is the thing, and there's always a local version if you've opened it up to make sure it runs fast, and so that if you lose internet connection, you've still got something to work on. So don't worry, if you're on a plane or a train or someplace you can't get internet, like where I live, it doesn't matter if you aren't connected to the net, it'll still work. Okay, you'll be able to go to File, Open, and in here, okay, you'll be able to open it still because there's a local copy. So you're like, what are the perks then? The perks is that there's a backup copy in the cloud, okay, already backed up for you. Okay, so there's in case things go horribly wrong and you lose your laptop, it's all online. And you're like, well, how do I access that? Okay, there's a couple of ways. Probably the easiest way is through the new Creative Cloud, Creative Cloud app. So on a Mac, it's this little thing here. It's the same thing on a PC, but down the bottom right. Open that up. Defaults to apps. Go to Your Work, and shows you all your libraries, or you can click on this one and it shows you kind of on the line, the internet stuff. Click on Cloud Documents, and I never go that way. I just go to assets.adobe.com. Log in with your username and password, and you can check out Your Work, okay? And here are all my files. And you're like, that's, okay, well, why is that useful? Is A, there's a backup, but I like this because you can go into this and you can share it with people. So this is probably the favorite feature for mine. You can go to share, copy the link, allow them to comment, okay? And if they've got that link, they can add comments. So sending to clients, sending to colleagues, you can get feedback. And I don't have to like save as, send it to somewhere, have this second version. It's always updating, okay? So if I go into this now and make the change, okay, so let's go into Pug Life, let's go to adjustments, let's go to for no good reason, black and white. Okay, I hit save, and I'm going to jump back to assets. Okay, and I'm going to wait for my internet to do its thing. I'm gonna hit refresh a couple of times. Oh man, that was quick. That's quick for my house anyway. I use cell phone internet here. We're in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, that's pretty cool and quick. Okay, so it just hangs out there. And if you want to use these features, you can, you don't have to. I'm pretty sure there's a version history coming. It's not there yet, okay, because it's kind of new, but I'm pretty sure there'll be like a version history, be able to go back through and see. You'll be able to see the comments there forever. It's cool because I've started traveling less with my laptop in the last couple of trips because of Apple Macs blowing up, and I'm scared they're going to take it off me at the airport. So I've been traveling without it. And it just means I can come into here, okay, go to my assets, adobe.com and work from any machine. So when I got to like the conference, I was using Photoshop files, okay, and all I had to go is my work, go to my cloud documents, and I just went, all right, let's download it, okay, and I just started working. Even easier is in Photoshop, okay, load up any Photoshop in any part of the world, okay, it doesn't have to be your computer, anybody's computer. Go to help and go to sign in. I'm not going to click my one because you'll see my email address. I'm not sure why you can't see my email address. Mainly because I get too many if I do, and I feel it's rude. I use the comments. I'm really good at responding at those, but emails, oh, my emails are too much. But anyway, once you've signed in, it's going to say File, Open, and it's going to say, would you like to open Cloud Documents? And even though you're a completely different computer somewhere, Cloud Documents, it'll show them all here. Cool, huh? Same thing if you're using the Photoshop for iPad. Okay, Photoshop for iPad, you can use the same login and password, and that's the cool kind of transition if you are using it. I'm not yet, okay, but you can see your files from Photoshop Desktop all in your iPad without actually doing anything if you use the cloud feature. All right, have I convinced you to use Photoshop Cloud? I think this kind of stuff is inevitable. Having all your stuff on your own computer is fine, but man, it's devastating when you lose it. Having things on the cloud, especially when they're seamless like this, seems like just a no-brainer. But we'll all keep using it. We might find problems with it. But like I said, I've been on trains and planes and seems to work nice. Doesn't really change my flow at all, except I know they've got a backup. And I get the extra things of like sharing and adding comments and downloading wherever I am, switching to my iPad version of Photoshop and starting working on that. All right, that is Documents Cloud unveiled, demystified. There's a good name for this version, demystified, I like it. All right, that's it. Big update for Photoshop. Use it if you want. Let's get on to the next video. Hi everyone, this feature is the updates to Content Aware Fill in the new Photoshop 2020. Okay, just a little tweak and it's a useful one. Okay, so we're gonna turn that guy off. Goodbye, fisherman. We're gonna say goodbye to the cat. There he goes. Okay, and we're gonna say goodbye to this one here. Gone. So Content Aware Fill's been around a little while, but the new auto feature's sweet. Also, what we're going to do is hang around to the end because I'm going to give you like another feature, but it doesn't deserve its own video. Not that it's not cool, just it's so short that I'd make like a 10-second video. So I've added it to the end of this one. Okay, it's zooming to layers. So hang around for the end or skip to the end if you want to. But yeah, let's get started. All right, so the updates to Content Aware Fill. Let's do a really easy selection around the cat here. Goodbye cat and his shadow. Okay, edit. And we're going to go Content Aware Fill, which came out in the last version. So if you haven't used this, it's pretty exciting. You might be like, oh my goodness. Okay, because we had Content Aware Fill for a while, but not this like extra window that opens up where you can kind of sample stuff. Okay, and it updated over here. So let me try and get the same kind of view. You get the idea. Okay, so what's upgraded, okay, is this auto feature. Before it did this big giant rectangle, just said, I'm going to look in the rectangle and try my best. And it's done a pretty good job. What auto is kind of doing some sweet, I'm assuming some machine learning AI, I have no idea how to use those terms, right? But it's doing some magic, okay, where it's saying, actually, I'm just going to sample from this green area here. Okay, and you're like, that's awesome. You've somehow worked out what is consistent with that. Okay, and you click OK. And you can see, there he is, gone. All right, let's look at this option here. Same sort of thing. I'm going to use our sweet new tool, the Object Select tool, the fourth one down. I'm going to drag around him in his shadow and see if it does a good job. Does a pretty good job. I'm going to hold Shift to select the net as well. It's done a pretty sweet job. And probably expand it. So select, modify, expand it, just to get all the extra bits. 50 pixels works for me. Edit, Content Aware Fill, it'll default to auto, and you can see it's picking all the best bits that resemble, it's done a really good job. Whereas before, remember rectangle, it's gonna grab in this case, the whole thing grabs the sky as well and starts sampling from that. And you're like, nope, just that, please. Cool. We'll do one other one. Before we leave though, yours is set to new layer, okay, by default. So what that means is if I click OK, it means that when it's finished and I deselect, you can see I've got my original layer, okay, and this updated one that kind of just covers our fisherman. There he is. Okay, so there's this guy, kind of just covering him up. That's what it is by default, and you might like that. The other option in there was duplicate, and what I did in this version, okay, and it just means that there's an original complete layer. You can kind of see it there in the thumbnails, and there's another one completely over the top that is a complete layer. You can see it, but it has the cat smushed out. Let's look at our third option. Now there are times, okay, there's loads of times where you go to edit. Actually, let's get rid of, use a rectangle tool, get rid of this. Okay, you want to remove it, edit, content with fill, it goes to automatic, and it doesn't do a great job. Okay, you can see here, it's just, you can really tell where it is. And over here, it's tried its best, okay, and it said, oh, this is all sand. And what you need to do is use this plus and minus. Okay, so I want to minus some of the green. I want to say, don't use the waves, that's a dumb idea. All these waves, or the sand up here. I'm going to raise my brush size up. Okay, don't want any of that, because that's kind of like the wet sand. And I don't want any of this, and I don't want any of that. So we can touch it all up and just keep an idea. Keep an eye over there when I'm updating. It updates as you draw. Okay, you can see it's getting better. You can say, actually, I want to add using the plus. That bit's sweet. You can kind of tell that that's the right kind of sand that I need. Okay, and you can start to see over here. Has it done a good job? Maybe grab some of that. Grab some of that. Still not looking great. Let's grab the minus. Let's grab none of that, because that's not quite what I want. All that kind of stuff with the shadow. Oh, look at that. Nailed it. Okay, it's got all that kind of shadows and stuff into it. I don't want to keep messing with it because it looks good. Yeah. So content aware fill got updated with this sweet auto feature that works loads of the time, and sometimes you just need give it a little touch up. And yeah. So we talked about new layer, kind of puts a kind of a cutout version on top. Duplicate is the cat one, and current layer just smushes them all together. Just click OK. And now we have one layer here. Okay, very destructive. Okay, it's just smush them together, and you can never turn that thing back on. Can't come back. Anyway, that is the new feature for Photoshop 2020, the update to content aware fill. Last thing I want to show you, I promised you an extra sneaky extra trick. I really like this one. It's a weird one. Let me open up a file. All right, this shortcut works best when you've got kind of, in my case, a lot of artboards, or you might just have a big document with lots of parts on it, and it's a cool shortcut. You hold down the Option key on your Mac or the Alt key on your PC, and just click on the thumbnail, okay, of actually any part of the layer, okay, and it will jump to the zoom over here. So if you're like, okay, you're working on this thing, you're like, I need to go to this instance of T, hold down the Option key or Alt key on a PC and just click it, and it takes you and shows you it. Okay, byline there, just zooms in. Anything you click on, as long as you're holding that key down, it will fly around your document, okay, and do it. If you end up doing this, you probably will, okay, because if you, what you'll notice is, here, if you hold down the Option key and click on the name, it jumps to where we want to go. But if you do it in between them, okay, it does something else. It clips to the layer underneath. So if you do that, you need to go to Edit Undo or hold down the Option or Alt key again and just click it off. So you need to click right in the center of the thumbnail or the text, and it will fly around. Cool, huh? You can do it with the whole artboard too. Okay, click on the artboard, okay, and just kind of move around to look at them. All right, so you got 2 new features in Photoshop 2020 in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's get on to the next video. Hi there, hope you're enjoying the course. If you are liking it and you want to know more about Photoshop, you like my teaching style, I've got a couple of other courses that I want to show you some stuff in. So you can see here, I've got an Essentials and an Advanced course. It's not even that advanced, it's just, I don't know, what do you call it? Essentials, people don't want to do an intermediate course, so it's an advanced course. So even if you find yourself reasonably good at Photoshop, a lot of people find good value from the Essentials course, and then moving into the Advanced, it's up to you. The Essentials is like 8 hours, so it's a good long course, and the Advanced is about 13 hours because Photoshop's so broad. But yeah, if you like what you're seeing here, I'm just kind of fast forwarding the kind of stuff we do, so I can't really talk over it all. But yeah, that's the stuff. Go check it out if you like. I'll put a link in the description to both those courses. All right, back into the action. It's that way. Hello everyone, welcome to the lamest titled video I've ever made. Improvements to the property panel. You've all probably skipped past this one because this is not sexy, but it is really useful and really, like this is the one you're going to use the most out of all the updates, but it's not particularly exciting. So I save it for a little bit further along in this kind of series. What it is this properties panel. If you can't see it, go to Window, turn on Properties. I'm going to make mine a bit bigger, make mine down here so you can see it nice and big. Why? Because it is up until this version, okay, 2020. So just before that, it did nothing. It told you like document sizes, but you couldn't change them. Okay, so what's really cool about it now is it's contextually sensitive. So if I have nothing selected, I've just kind of clicked in the empty area down here. It gives me my canvas size that I can actually go and change. You can go in here and say, I'd like to go plus, I don't know, 30 centimeters. Okay, you can do cool maths in them as well. Just click off and it's added 30 centimeters either side. Cool, huh? I can undo that. Portrait, landscape, all sorts of useful stuff. This one's, you know, like forever, like, go and dig where that is. Okay, try and figure out where the RGB to CMYK one is under color modes. 8-bit channels, you never change because you're not sure what it does. I never changed the fill, but rules and guides, don't use that much. This might be useful. The old smart guides on and off. But what's really useful for all the different kind of uses is this quick actions. Okay, so with nothing, I can click on image size. Okay, and go and change that instead of going to, what's that shortcut? Command Option I. Okay, we know that one because we do it loads to change it, but there it is. We can just go in and click it there. You can crop, you can rotate, you can trim. Okay, so document settings are cool. It gets even nicer when you start clicking on layers. So I'm gonna click on this T layer, so like an image, and it gives me cool stuff. The best one is this, horizontal, vertical. I do this all the time, but it is in this like crazy hard to find place, right? You're like, you sometimes set up a new shortcut. I've done shortcuts, but then I've reset my machine and forgot to redo them, and it's just a pain. But look, there it is. Weird thing to note about that at the moment is if I grab, say, a logo and I add it to this, okay, it is like a vector logo from my library. Weirdly, it doesn't appear over here. I'm hoping that'll just update because like surely they can flip horizontal and vertical. It obviously works in here. Okay, so they'll update that hopefully by the time you're looking at this video because I'm like, where are you? So some things don't. Images do, okay, but other things aren't at the moment. What about text? Well, you can flip text, but you can't flip library images or smart objects at the moment. But hey ho, we can change that, hopefully. But hey ho, they'll go and change that. So goodbye logo. So what else can you do for images that are useful? We looked at this earlier, remember? Remove background. If you haven't seen that video, watch this. Magically removes the background and stuff. Undo that. Okay, select subject is a really good way of selecting stuff. Okay. You can align, you can select a couple of things, align and distribute. This colored box here you can see you can change. We've been able to do that for a little while. What else is useful? Type, okay, type, you always had to kind of like do type and have this kind of like window, paragraph open and then character open and then where do you stick it? Now it's all tied into here. You can see character and paragraph are all in here. And I've just got like a light version. Okay, so if I twirl this down, they've only got the basics, okay, left align, right align, that sort of stuff, but you can click on this to get to more of it, okay, and it just kind of opens up. So you can toggle this like little dotted line here. Now it's not the entire thing because you don't have that little flyout menu, so sometimes you still need to go to window paragraph, but you've got most of what you need in here. There is a cool kind of stuff in character as well. I'm gonna show you, mine's a little bit broken. I'm using a kind of a pre-early release version. So there's a couple of little bugs that I know have been fixed already, just not in my version. So what we're going to do is in the next video, we're going to look at cool stuff to do with character that they've kind of brought to the front in here. So let's move on to that one. Hi everyone, this video is for the type nerds who know that type in Photoshop is frustrating and you go off and do it in something else and bring it in. You can do a lot of that now in Photoshop. They've brought a lot of the OpenType features, things like this where you can see there's this version which has, see the Y and the O is a good example where it's kind of disconnected, and over here look, it all starts whipping together. Same with the B and the L, see this one starts connecting up. We didn't have to do anything other than click the stylistic sets button. We'll do something at the end where we we actually turn text into a frame and dump an image in it. We'll also look at these, slightly more boring, but actually useful, where we do this kind of like raised ST and this half without you having to like spend ages making tiny fonts and like raising the baseline up and faking it. There's an easy option now in Photoshop. If you're chuckling a little bit because you're like, yep, totally done that. I've done it. We've all done it. Okay, but there is an option where if you're using the right font and you're using the sweet new tools in Photoshop, you can do it with one click. All right, let's jump in and work it out. All right, so they've kind of brought all the hidden features for OpenType fonts to the front now in Photoshop. So I'll show you how. So we've got this kind of first, let's zoom to the layer. Okay, you remember what you hold down? You hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and just click on it. Okay, and it zooms to that layer. It'll zoom back one so you can see it a bit easier. And what we're going to do is you can see character, paragraph, all that stuff is nice. Okay, we were looking for this one called type options. This is only going to appear if you're using an OpenType font. How do you know if you're using an OpenType font? Under character, I'm using Cortado. Love this font. You can see it here. It's part of your Creative Cloud. You can download it from Adobe Fonts. You can kind of see it here. Basically, see the ones with O next to it? Are definitely OpenType font, and anything you download from Creative Cloud, okay, these CC ones are OpenType as well, normally. There's some other options like the SVG ones and variable fonts, but they're all OpenType fonts. These TT ones are not going to have any of that fanciness that we're going to discuss here. So OpenType font first, I'm going to close that down so we can see our type options. You might have to twirl this down, be selected on a type layer. Okay, and what I'm going to do is show you some of the best and easiest one is, so the people who designed this one, Jess Regan and Ben Keel, I think I said that right. They went through, designed this font, but then designed lots of what's called ligatures and glyphs that different combinations, and they're called stylistic sets. And there's this option here that is new for Photoshop. Okay, so not all fonts have stylistic sets, but definitely a lot of the newer fonts and the ones that have this kind of like swirly stuff, the sets are really nice. So in here, watch this. I'm going to turn the switch to alternatives off. You can see it's the same font, but it's got very different kind of feel to it. Okay, so the designers kind of had an option where they were like, oh, should we do it like this or do it like this? Okay, what I might do is actually start copying this over so we can kind of see what kind of variants we can get into while we're doing it. So this one, it can be our first one. Okay, I'm holding down my Alt key on PC, Option key on a Mac, and dragging the layer. And let's turn switch alternatives off. So you can see them both together there. Let's actually, let's leave it like that. Okay, let's look at another one. So let's have a look at some of the other stylistic sets. Some of them are going to have loads of them. Some of them are going to have a few. This one's got quite a few. Okay, so there's alternative, turning all the connections off. Okay, because there's all these can you see the Y, because it's next to an O, there's been a kind of a font switch out, okay, to do this kind of nice combination. But you can see here, naturally, the Y by itself doesn't have this kind of whip that comes up to join the O. So you can turn them off if you don't want them, okay, or turn them on. Some fonts don't have them all connected and you want to turn them on by default. Okay, so just work through the different stylistic sets to see what works for you, okay, just to see, tweak with the font. Have you ever seen a font, you're like, how do they get it to all connect up and join? And it's probably they've used either some of the stylistic sets or this one here. This one is turning the standard ligatures on. So ligatures are these things where Y and O get switched out for the joiny Y and O. Other nice thing with OpenType fonts, like a lot of people don't know, especially in Photoshop, because it's not in the past it hasn't been really text. They've kind of just ignored text, but recently it's a full-blown text editor now. It's got some cool stuff. So let's say in here, I'm going to type, let's go first is a good one. And let's look at half. Cool. So first and half, we want the ST to jump up. Okay. And because it's an OpenType font, it's kind of showing me different options for the one. Okay. It's not what I want. What I want to do is say, actually, can you see in here, OpenType? They don't all have it. I'm using, what am I using? Can't even remember. Where is it? Character Source Sans Pro. You can see it has, watch this, click first. It has that kind of lovely subscript version of those two. Same with half. Okay, the designer's actually got a version of half that looks like that. Okay, so it's gone through and figured it out and switched it out for you. So that can be super helpful. And yeah, they don't all have them. How do you pick a font that does have them? They might be all grayed out and you're like, none of these have these things that Dan wants. Basically, it comes down to, have you ever seen in your machine where you've got like, I don't know, Garamond, but also Garamond Pro, and you're like, they look exactly the same. It doesn't really matter which one I use. That's the difference. The Pro versions have all these extra glyphs that switch out, okay, when you need them. So the way to find, well, the way I do it, if I'm looking for a body copy font for a client that has a lot of text, I'm not going to pick something that's not a Pro font. Why? Because I need all these extra bits. Okay, so I'm going to go through my characters and just type in Pro. Okay, and it will tell me everything on my machine that has the Pro version. Okay, often there's a normal version and a Pro version. Or I'll go to Adobe fonts. Okay, so it's, no, what do they call it? type.adobe.com or fonts.adobe.com. You click on this and you click on this, Adobe Fonts, and it will open up a web browser to go and check it out. Okay, and most of these fonts are these kind of like high level fonts. All right, and there's the page that opened up. Okay, and you can see the last thing I was doing, I was trying to find text that looked good is create and sell. And you can go over here and say, I want decorative fonts that have that are really thin. Okay, and it will give you options and you can just download it. You can find one and say, view the family, and then you can say sync. I think sync's the word. Oh, there's cool options in this one. Nice work. Can't pronounce your name. And you can activate the fonts and magic happens where up here in my Creative Cloud license thing, it'll just start swirling and just magically appear in my fonts. All right, one last little bonus before we go is this convert to frames. The text has the ability to be a text frame, okay? So what I'm gonna do is put an image just underneath it. Okay, wow, I'm gonna put it over here from my library. Put it anywhere, we'll get it from anywhere. I'm gonna line it up over my text-ish, hit enter. And it's going to make sure it's just underneath the text because this top layer here, I'm going to select convert to frame and it will just grab the thing underneath and kind of like crop it in. It's no longer editable text, so you might want to duplicate the text first, but that's a cool extra option. You can see there's this frame and then there's the image, and that's a cool kind of cool texty thing to do. Okay, you can click on this, okay, the frame, move it around, okay, and everything comes, or click on the image and just move that around. You can easily update it by just kind of clicking this, dragging another one in. Just make sure you have the layer selected and the image, okay, this little thumbnail selected when you drag anything into it. All right, that's it. Stylistic sets are cool. They've been around, but they're all kind of like brought to the fore in Photoshop. Plus looking at those ligatures and glyphs can raise your type game considerably. And boring stuff like this, okay, with your subscripts and your fractions are actually really useful. I know it, you've gone through and made a small bit of type and you've raised it up to be subscript or raised the line height so it kind of comes up. And this one here, we've all smushed those together once in a while. I'm not judging, I've done it, but know that a lot of fonts, okay, have those extra special glyphs. All right, that's it. On to the next video. Hey there, in this video, I'm going to show you the updates for export as. You're not allowed to keep using Save for Web, okay? That's too old, okay? Switch to this one, I promise, you'll love it. I'm going to prove it to you today. So many perks, plus a couple of upgrades for the new version of Photoshop. So let's jump in now and I'll show you what. Okay, so the two new features are File, Export, Export As. Okay, it's been around a while, but the two new extra bits is you can now do 2-up. Okay, so I can say, what does it look like, this version versus the original? Okay, let's zoom in quite a bit and let's just, you get the idea, right? So I'm gonna see what it looks like as a JPEG down at like 0%. You can see it's pretty crappy. It's actually pretty good, surprisingly good. But you can see, there it is there. So 2-up is pretty cool. And the other option, probably the most exciting version or one of the nicest updates is, say I pick JPEG 42 and I export it and I stick it on my desktop. It remembers what I did last time. I know, totally cool. Because we've all done it, right? For some reason, Photoshop really wants it to be a PNG. Every time you load that export as, okay, the format is PNG. So I'm going to try and prove it to you. I'm stalling while this thing's taking forever to make my things. I've got quite a few of them. They're quite big. I've left them as PNGs, so they're way too big. But let's do this. I'll speed it up. Didn't need to speed it up, just stopped. But now let's say we've done some changes. Let's change it. File. Now we're going to go to export as, and clever little thing goes, JPEG 42%. I don't know why. That is a pretty big, just amazing. Phew, finally. Now those are the updates. I want to kind of show you this export as. I don't know why. I feel like the export as ambassador to the world, because you use file export save for web because it works. It doesn't work very well when you've got multiple banner artboards. Okay, so export as does different banners. So I'm going to show you a couple of other cool things it does. So I can select all of these in one go, which is helpful, and say I want them to be a JPEG, and I want them to be 60%. It's like my go-to size. You can change the image size on the way out here. So you can say, actually, I've designed this one at 2000. Maybe I'm kind of doing, I don't know, high DPI or retina kind of sizings. Okay, but I want it to kind of export at 1000. Okay, so I don't have to go to that whole, like, you've done it right, where you've made it too big because you want it to be good quality. Then you go to file, or you go to image size, lower the size down, hit enter, export, and then you quickly hit undo to change the size out. Okay, you don't have to do that. You can just export it with a certain size on the way through. Another cool thing you can do is, let's say I want all of these guys to have a couple of sizes. So I want the size that I've designed it from in Photoshop, but also you can hit this like little plus button to say I want a size that's double the size. And if you use lots of smart objects and vector things, it just doubles the size. Or I can say I've designed it at twice the size it needs to be. I want to export it at half. It's going to give you both versions. This is really handy if you're designing stuff for apps. Okay, they love all this at 2x. Okay, so that's going to be full size, half size. I can have another one that's going to be 3 times the size. Export them onto my desktop, and I'll just show you what it looks like. All right, that thing's still kind of like working through them. You can see it's kind of working in the background, and they're all appearing on my desktop. I've got all my different artboards at 2 different sizes. So I've got my regular one. Okay, what have I got? I've got a PNG version that I did originally, this new JPEG version, plus a half size, plus a double size, plus a 3 size. Okay, they're just the same thing at different sizes. Okay, and all done in one easy big step. The other thing you can do with export as, you can kind of just do it per layer or per artboard, because maybe you don't want like all of these artboards and all these versions. You can actually say, all right, Facebook banner B, right click it and just go to export as. Okay, and it just does that one artboard. Okay, you don't have to do them all. You just do one size of them. Okay, or you can do it per layer. So you just need the latte image, see it here, all cropped out. You just right click the latte image and say export as. You can do quick export, but it defaults to PNG. You can go in your preferences and easy change it to your quick export to be JPEG 60%. Okay, so that you don't even have to go to this and through this and pick JPEG 60%. It'll just do it for you in one go. Cool, huh? Another thing it'll do as well is it'll use the layer name or the artboard name. So you might have to start naming your artboards instead of layer 57. Yes, I'm judging you because look at all my named layers over here. Okay, I never do that. I did it for the tutorial only. I'm like you, layer 0, copy. Okay, but if you do name them, okay, you can go through and it just makes the flow really fast. All right, so that's export as. The updates were just that 2-up and the remembering it exports. But there's a few other things we covered there that I hope made your day more enjoyable. All right, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Hi there, this new feature in Photoshop is a way to convert smart objects into layers. It's really easy. You can see here I've got this kind of like group of stuff that I've put together as a smart object at some stage in its life, and there was never a way to unpack it all. You had to kind of like double click it, go in it, and do all sorts of weird stuff where all these layers and try and copy them back in. And no more, my friends. Okay, all you need to do is right click the word model, okay, the layer of your name, or the name of your layer even, and find this one, convert to layers. Insignificant, but new and super helpful. Check it out. It's kind of unpacked it into a cool little group, and there are all my different pieces that I can turn on and off, grab them, start playing around. You can be multiplied on the background. Basically, this video is all about right-clicking, switching to layers, unpacks the smart object or a library item if you've got a big gang of them in there. Nice, easy, useful upgrade. Thank you, Photoshop. Hey everyone, I'm going to show you the new features in Photoshop's Warp tool. It's kind of new. We can do sweet custom stuff. Hang around to the end. I do like a fake ending where I forget to show you something, but I double back and show you some cool extra pieces. Okay, there's kind of like 2 bonuses at the end. So if it feels like it's ending, you're like, I'm going to skip forward. Don't on this video because I forget something and add it in at the end. All right, let's make it work. Let's grab this one, copy it, move it over to this one. I'm going to scale it down, don't hold shift. Okay, and decide, here you go. Let's get it roughly where we want it, and then we're going to use the new feature, edit, transform, and warp. Okay, you probably used it before, but the new version has, the old version was just this. You had this kind of like 3x3 grid was the kind of like lowest you got, and there's a lot of, probably too much control for getting started. Okay, and there was no custom option, so there is a custom option now. Okay, so actually I'm going to undo it. So go back to how it was to start with. Escape. Let's go to edit. Let's go to warp. And in here, what we can do is kind of get it to where we roughly want it, which is cool because we've just got the outside ones. Okay, but the new feature allows us to do custom stuff like adding extra kind of grids to this transform. Let's get it kind of close. I'll get the editor to speed it up. Okay, not my best work, but the trick is you can hold down the Option key on a Mac or Alt key on a PC and click anywhere. Okay, watch this. I'm holding the key down. Okay, and you can see I get this like little crosshairs here, and I can say actually I want one kind of down here. Okay, and it puts in a horizontal or vertical, or I can undo that and I can say actually I want just one that is running this length. Okay, horizontal. It's written there. I get those confused. Okay, click on this one and I can actually just put a horizontal one in there because what I want to do is try and kind of mimic this bottom bit a little bit better. I'm totally just wrecking this a bit, but you get the idea, right? I can add full-on custom to really follow the kind of flows of it. Okay, either a full split or vertical or horizontal. You can also go into here and say, actually, I want to, instead of the 3x3 or 4x4 or 5x5, I can hit custom and okay, it's going to mess up with my current one, but it's okay. I can put in whatever I want. I can say I want, 18x2, and it will give me that kind of control depending on what I need. All right, so that's the upgrade. It's kind of called Quilt Warp, yeah, but it's really just like an update for Photoshop's Warp tool. A bit more customization. All right, that is almost it. Actually, one last thing I want to show you is there's some cool tricks for using it. Let's say we get to this one, go to custom grid, let's go 5x5. If you want to select a lot of them at the same time, hold down the shift key and just kind of like drag over a bunch of them. Because at the moment, right, you have to click on one and move that. But say you want this kind of like whole chunk to move, hold shift, drag over a few of them, and then you get to move them kind of in, just the ones you have selected. The other thing you can do is let's select just, hold shift, just these ones down the bottom here. You'll notice, see this like, can you see it on the video? There's like an extra blue line that's appeared. And in this kind of like weird space, you can do some nice stuff with that whole, chunk of them. Okay, so if you select them in a big group, you've got this like little extra part where we can extract, and just outside of it, we can rotate it as a big chunk. Full on custom. Almost forgot that bit. Lucky I got my notes here to remind myself of all the important details. But yeah, that's it. That is the upgrade to Warp. Ooh, and the other thing while we're here, I said at the beginning, remember there was 2 bits I kind of put in the end. This is the first bit. The second bit that I'm going to squeeze in here is the consistent scale, because I'm going to undo till we kind of got this big version. And watch, they changed it a couple of versions ago where, you hit transform and you hold shift down and it kind of does this squidgy bit. And you'll be like, oh man, I like that. And, it used to be, that's the way I got used to it. So what they've done is they've done a couple of things. First of all, there used to be a problem where in the previous version, okay, where if I brought in a vector image, okay, that would operate differently from a pixel image. Okay, it meant that I held shift down on this one to scale it proportionally, but not on that. There was like no consistency. So you probably won't even notice now, but because I made it kind of more natural that you don't have to hold shift down at all to scale proportionately. Okay, hold shift down on all objects, smart objects, library items, raster images, text. You don't have to hold down shift. Hold down shift will distort it. Okay, we love a good squish logo, don't we? The other interesting note about that kind of transform is if I go Command T to transform, this option here, okay, because you can go into your preferences. If you were like defying it, you define it. Okay, I was at the beginning. I was like, nope, it's never going to stick. I can't stop holding Shift, and then I've got past that now. Okay, but if you are defined, you can go through and actually just turn it off there instead of having to go find it in your preferences, and that'll remember. Okay, it'll remember that. It'll go back to the old way of working where you have to hold Shift down to get a proportionate scale. Okay, and if you open a document and a new document, it'll remember. So that's kind of like Command T. It'll be on forever. Okay, means it's going to scale it the new way. Turn it off to go back to the old school way. It's like turning the preferences on and off. All right, that is the end of this one. Little bonus there at the end. 2 bonuses. One I almost forgot to show you, the selecting all the anchor points in the transform. And there, just a little bit of kind of update with the scaling and transforming options in Photoshop. All right, let's get on to the next video. All right, this video is about gradients. They've upgraded some of the features for gradients. They've given you lots of presets. You can add them to libraries. I'm going to show you a way of kind of like grabbing them and borrowing them, stealing them from other people. Okay, and yeah, all sorts of gradient goodness in this video. If you are like, gradients are old school and we don't want to use them anymore, you can skip this entire video because it's all about gradients. I won't be offended, and I'll see you in the next video. But for those who are like, yeah, I'm still into gradients, why wouldn't you be? Let me show you some of the upgrades. All right, the next new feature is the updates to gradients. There's a couple of cool things. The first kind of more practical one is, let's say I'm going to go to my gradients panel. If you can't find it, go to Window, and there he is there, gradients. And I'm going to make a new gradient. I'm just going to pick 2 colors randomly that I've already pre-thought about. I'm just going to hopefully get somewhere close to something nice. Okay, if you know me, that's the gradient I use on everything. Okay, I'm going to create a new one. Did I give it a name? I didn't. It's okay. So I've got a gradient. What you couldn't do before in libraries is you could put swatches like these ones, but you couldn't put gradients. Now, hey, libraries have gradients. Okay, so you can have consistency across. This gradient appears in Illustrator, InDesign libraries, XD. I'm really, I don't know. I'm going a bit overboard with gradients at the moment, so this is quite helpful for me. They've actually created a bunch of, they've updated the gradients, right? So if you look in your gradients panel, I've got my gradients that I've made, basics, but you can see here they've gone through and made a bunch of them. Okay, so there's just lots to do. You can use them pretty easily as well. So I'm going to click on this big F, Facebook F that I've got, and I'm going to just click on them, and they apply with one click. So you can kind of work through them pretty easily. There's so many options in here that are a little hard to know what looks good. But yeah, they've got a bunch of them in here. If you're like, oh, what happened to the great ones they used to have? Because they don't have all like, remember Chrome and weird, like the worst one I think was red to orange to green. It was like this Rastafarian default that was always in there. Don't worry, you can go into here and say legacy gradients, and then we can, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I don't know. Were these cool at some stage? Okay, right on the bottom, legacy, boom. The Chrome that I might have used in my first year of art school. Okay, Spectrum. Okay, where's the, oh, look at that one. That's the best one. Okay, so they're in there still too. Oh, close second. If you might be loving these, and I might be offending you, you with your green to reds. That's fine. I'm not here to judge, though I get a little judgy. Now I'll just give you, because that's it, right? So loads of gradients. You can add them to your library. I'll show you kind of a workflow that I use when I'm like, I need a gradient. What should I do? Is I go to probably my best site for good colors is Dribble. Dribble with 3 Bs. You probably know it already. I find something that I like. Yeah, we're looking for a gradient. I should have prepared earlier some cool gradient one. Gradients are going out of fashion, Dan. You need to move on. Let's say that I want this one here. Okay, both of these purple ones are pretty cool. So you've got 2 options. You can do a screenshot and just bring it into Photoshop, or I appropriate colors enough that I've installed like a little plugin for Chrome. Okay, it's called Colorzilla, and I can pick color from page once it's installed, and I can start with like this lighter purple. You can see it's picked the color and copied it to my clipboard, which is fancy. Go into here, I'm gonna make a new gradient, double click the bottom, just paste it straight in, it pastes it there. I'm gonna click OK. Then go back in here and grab the darker version, pick color from page, and come around here and grab one of the darker purples, Just copied it to my clipboard. You can see if you're a color thief like I am, it's a quick and easy way to do it. Okay, done that. I'm gonna hit new. Make sure you click new so it adds it to your kind of like lists. You can drag it into here. Then with one click, I can say, actually, let's replace that one with this new one. If you don't want to do the color picker thing, okay, or you like the color picker thing, you can switch on to the next video. No more value here, but if you want to do it kind of more of a old school way, what you do is you go to something like Dribble and you grab, let's find another color. Like gradients are becoming less popular because sites like this is a good indication of like, I don't know, the flow of design. I'm a laggard. I like to do do things like gradients as people stop doing them. But I've taken a screenshot on my Mac. It's Command-Shift-4. I'll drag a little box around it. Okay, and on a PC, I have no idea. You'll have to check how PCs take a screenshot, and then just go into Photoshop, open it up. On a Mac, it sticks it on your desktop. I put mine in a special folder though. There it is there. That added. There we go. I just bring it in temporarily. Okay, grab my, where is it? New gradient, and do the same thing, except I can double click that and then move that out of the way and say I want you. Okay, I'm going to put in a middle color by just clicking anywhere underneath here. Bloop. Okay, double click it, and I'm going to pick you. And then over here, I'm going to double click this end and just click yep. Slightly darker than that one. Hope it is anyway. Oh, and don't click just OK. Click the little new button. Otherwise, you've got to start again. Boo. But you get the idea, right? Either the color picker called Colorzilla. Okay, there's a bunch of other alternatives if that one's still not there. Okay, or disappeared off the Google Chrome plugin store. Or you can just do this. Take a screenshot, bring it in, and start grabbing them. All right, that was a way too long video about gradients. Let's get on to the next one. Okay, so I have got my, instead of my mouse, I've got my pencil, okay, the Wacom pen. And basically the tip is, if I use my brush, let's have a look at some of the brushes. Let's actually open up the brushes panel. Now, in here, basically Adobe in the last version went and upgraded all their brushes to like Kyle, this amazing brush maker dude. They went through and bought himself, I think he works for Adobe now as well, but all his amazing brushes. So I'm just going to pick bonus chunky charcoal. It's probably not appropriate for my drawing here, but it's going to be very obvious the way it works. All right, brush size, I'm going to have to leave it quite big just so that you can see in this tutorial. Okay, it's not going to be beautiful stuff. This is my son, this is Ojin. So I want, the feature is that I get to look at my layers. Yep. That's more likely how I work. Okay, I'm just using black so you can see it. You can see I'm painting in this. Matches beautifully. Now the trick this is, okay, well the new update is I used to go to my eraser tool and try and paint out bits that I didn't want, and it was never realistic, okay, to what I was doing before. The cool new trick is I can use my brush tool, don't have to change to eraser. All I need to hold down is my tilde key. I'll cut to a clip here and show you what key it is. All right, the key I'm talking about is that one, the wavy one, or the one with the little check mark on it. Everyone's keyboard's slightly different, so sometimes it's in the bottom left. Have a look for that key, hold it down, give it a test, it should work. Okay, I call it the tilde key, tilde. Somebody will correct me in the comments, but that's the key. You hold down and then we can start doing our drawing. All right, let's get back in. So I hold down that key and I can use the exact same tool to brush it out. So I don't have to go to eraser tool. I just kind of like paint in with one, hold that key down and paint out with the same one. It's just really helpful for kind of doing nice stuff. Okay, so it's pressure sensitive. Okay, so that's the update. Yeah, that's my little drawing. There was a lot of preamble for that little trick. I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's really useful, like especially when I'm doing, yeah, kind of pencil drawings or fake pencil drawings. It's really hard to kind of switch between a really bad eraser, or at least customize the eraser. It doesn't matter what brush you're in, just hold that key down and it will switch it over. Let's get on to the next one. Hi there, this video is about the upgrades to Photoshop's presets panels. Okay, there are sweet new colors that they've put in there. They've got sweet new patterns. You can see this grass here is actually a sweet repeating pattern built into Photoshop. Now I've got trees, and check out this one. See the fur and the text? I fully, when I heard about these new upgrades, was ready to spend a little bit of a video mocking how bad they are, but actually loads of them are pretty good. So let's jump in and check out the upgrades. Oh, we're totally gonna mock the shape upgrades. That's a boat. Boat shape number 1. Okay, they did well with lots of things. Shapes they need a bit of work on. All right, let's get started. Now, if I'm honest with color presets and all these kind of styles and swatches, I'm always like, man, they always end up looking lame, so I never touch them. And I'm like, do I include them in this video or do I just leave them out because they're lame? And I actually started using them. It wasn't that bad. Well, there's actually some cool ones. So I've got this text selected. I'm going to open up. I'm going to show you the styles one first. So styles, and there are some really cool because the old ones were, I don't know, these are the legacy ones, and you know, I'm not sure when I ever needed like, I don't know, like that. Oh yeah, or that one. Okay, there were just some hideous ones. So let's look at the new ones they put in. Then the basics, there's nothing much in there. Natural, I'm not really gone on. Use our sweet new trick, remember? Option, click the layer, or Alt, click the layer on the PC, and you can zoom in. These natural ones, you're actually like, they're actually not bad. There's some, I don't know why there's a big stroke around the outside and the drop shadow is a bit hardcore, but the cool thing about them is once you have done them, okay, you can go into here and you can see my layers panel. All a style is a bunch of effects that get applied. And you can actually turn off all the drop shadows and maybe turn off the bevel and emboss. It's up to you what you want to do. Maybe one of the drop shadows need to be on. Maybe I can turn it, change it a bit by double clicking the word drop shadow and say, why is it on so strong? 5, 0, I don't know, 5 seems to be my go-to. You know, just something subtle. I'm liking it. Okay, so they've actually got some really good stuff to start with now. And one of my most exciting ones was fur. I'm like, that actually looks pretty cool. Again, want to do some adjustments, but they allow you to do adjustments. I'm totally trying to figure out a design that I can add like a leopard skin to. Haven't got to that yet, but hey, I'll make a tutorial about leopard skins. I don't know. But fur's cool. Fabric's really nice. I can probably see more, more use out of these fabric ones. A little less caricature and more kind of just, I don't know, usable. Yeah, so those are the styles. Okay, so check them out. If you can see, I've got the legacy ones. Okay, you can find them. Yours won't be on by default. You can hit this little flyout menu and go to the one that says legacy styles and more. It will load them back up. Did I show you how to get to styles? It's under Window, Styles, if you can't see it already. Okay, the other things I want to show you is, let's look at one of these guys. Okay, under swatches, they've gone and redone this and kind of gone from they had some really bad ones in here, right? It was just like random colors. Now what they've got is, they've got like under pastel, somebody's gone through and actually thought about some really nice colors. You know, a nice kind of shading group of pastels. Light, dark, pure, there's lots to go through. Okay, and normally I'd ignore this stuff, but actually if I was kind of, I don't know, about to start drawing like the drawing I showed you of my son, okay, good skin colors in here, or yeah, I don't know, it's better. Okay, a lot better color groups in here. And it's an upgrade for this version, so you might want to have a look. Patterns got an upgrade as well. There's a bunch of patterns that are in here. Okay, pretty cool. They repeat. Okay, there's only a few in here. Trees. That one I thought was quite cool. Well, I thought quite cool. It's pretty, let's click on this image here. I'm going to add a pattern to it. Okay, repeats, and it's not clear what it repeats. Not super clear anyway, but there's some cool patterns going on. There's grass, there's water. Yeah, so have a look at some of these, because I know for myself, I'd never go into it because I'm like, nah, that never looks good. But you can see repeating grass in these patterns, pretty good, right? I've all tried to make grass or find a stock image that we try and repeat. That's looking pretty good. Little tweaks in there, but I like it. One last thing that they've updated, and it kind of goes at the end because you might like it. I'll show you it. So shapes. You saw I went to Window, Shapes, and they've added some kind of shapes in here. So let's have a look at boats. Okay, and I'm gonna add a boat. That's why it's here. I don't know, they did so well with all the rest of it, but then they went, I hit return on my keyboard to adjust it. I totally need a sailboat. That's in a color from my sweet new color swatches. I don't know. Hit return on my keyboard to confirm it, then pick a new color for it. You might find something in there randomly that you need. Okay, I haven't yet. Like flowers, oh, okay. And I don't know. You might like them. I shouldn't hate on the shapes. But all right, that is it for this one. I'm gonna give you a little bonus at the end here because I want to show you, can I make it appear? Come on, my little desktop. There it is. Okay, this taskbar. So all the different Photoshops. Old Photoshop had the square, this one has round. And if you're just like, why are some of them round? Like this one's round, this one's round, this one's not. This one's not. The new version of Photoshop, Illustrator didn't come along with the rounded corners, but the Photoshop did. Weird. It's basically, well, what I can work out from talking to Adobe is anything that's kind of gone to like online cloud-based fully gets this kind of roundy option. Okay, so Illustrator got no upgrades this year. So it is still just on desktop, doesn't do any sort of really cloud-based stuff, whereas Photoshop does some fancy stuff with Photoshop on the iPad, which is kind of like a separate program you can install on your iPad Pro or one of the later model iPads. And it's got the new file save for cloud documents. Okay, wait for this to appear. Nope, file save as even. Okay, and you've got this option to save to cloud documents, and they feel like it's done enough to move over to the roundy corner ones. Okay, so if it doesn't have roundy corners, it means it's kind of a laggard and doesn't have much connection to the internet or Adobe's kind of like online cloud services. You probably didn't care. I don't know why I do. I hated it because XD was for a long time was the only one around the corners, and it ruined my little kind of like setup that I've got here. Does everybody have the setup? I do. I take pride in my like all the applications, even though I only use half of them. That is it for this video. Styles presets, color presets, shapes, and why these things are around. All right, on to the next video. Hi everyone, this Photoshop new trick is how to export an animated GIF from Photoshop. There's been various ways over the years, and they've always been like little hacks to make it work. But now there's a really simple option. Okay, we're going to do a quick little animation of this cloud moving across, and I'll show you how to export it using the new features in Photoshop. All right, we'll start by actually animating something. Not everybody knows how. Okay, so I've got this cloud, it's on its own layer, it's over here. What I'm gonna do is you need to open up the window and check out the timeline so you can do animation. Appears down the bottom here. First thing you need to do is just kind of click this button, create a video timeline. I'm gonna make this bigger so you can see. Okay, and it's animated every single one of my layers over here. I'm just gonna work on the cloud. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is twirl down cloud, see this little chevron here, and I've got my playhead right at the beginning. I'm gonna hit this little stopwatch. Okay, and all that does is say, at this time, I've put a little keyframe in to say he is on this left-hand side. And my default is, how long is it? 5 seconds. So about halfway through, okay, about there. I'm just gonna use my move tool and move it across, okay, to this side. You can see it's put a little keyframe in there automatically for me. Go to the end, and I wanna get it back to kind of roughly where it was. Okay, there are tricks of matching it up perfect, but we're doing the quick way. Okay, now I'm gonna move my playhead, this little blue thing, all the way back to the beginning, and I'm gonna hit play button just to check it out. Cool, really lame animated GIF. Okay, but let's look how to export it, because there's been a bunch of different tricks over the years to how to do it, and Photoshop went, let's just make an easy way. Thank you, Photoshop. Let's go to File, let's go to Save As. Okay, and we're gonna save it on my computer. I'm going to drop down this and pick GIF. And because it's scene animation, it'll do it for us automatically. It already knows. Okay, so GIF, I'm gonna stick it on my desktop to go and show you. Click Save. Okay, comes up with some options in a second. Okay, now mine was pretty quick. If yours takes a lot longer, it's probably because your file size is quite big. I originally did this with like a really big high quality image and it took forever. Okay, and that's true, like animated GIFs shouldn't be that big. So I shrunk it down to a smaller size. Mine, I think, is about 1,000 pixels across, maybe even smaller. Okay, basically you can leave it all by default, click OK, you get a pretty nice version of it. You just gotta kick back and wait for it to produce it all. You can kind of see mine here, it's saving. Okay, and that's done. Let's check it on the desktop. All right, there's my GIF.gif. I can hit spacebar on my keyboard, and that is my sweet animated GIF. Okay, so yeah, it's just an easier way to do it via, the new way. Anyway, so that is animated GIFs in the new version of Photoshop. All right, we're at the end now. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like. This one's extra special because every time there's a new release for Photoshop, it's a race against a lot of instructors like myself to see who's got like the #1 release video for Photoshop. And your likes means I'm going to be ahead or middle pack, which normally in the middle somewhere. So give it a like if you like my teaching style. I do lots of this kinds of stuff for free on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel. If you did like my teaching style and you like some of the stuff you saw in the kind of middle, remember my little cross-sell thing there? Okay, I've got those Photoshop Essentials course and Photoshop Advanced. There'll be links for both of those in the description. All right, buddies, I will see you next year for the updates and lots of stuff in between. Subscribe. All right, bye now.